how blockchain, which I've been working in full-time for the past 7 to 8 years, can really build a more connected world and how that can really advance the goals of democracy for all. As you heard a few minutes ago, I am now CEO of my own company, Blockchain for All, after spending years helping to lead the growth of the Bitcoin SV, BSV ecosystem, advancing use of blockchain technology at scale to make it actually useful because it's efficient, fast, high transaction volume to use. But I started down this path towards this goal from many, many years ago. I was actually born in Vietnam in the 1970s, where my father was a judge. And only as I got older did I still really understand the connection I have with my father, both in life and professionally. That's me as a baby and my dad on the swings outside of the home that they had in Saigon down this alley-like street that I actually got to visit about 15 years ago for the first time. And I'm very similar to my dad, not just because I'm his youngest son, but my dad as a judge always wanted one of his sons to be a lawyer. And that couldn't happen in Vietnam because my family actually fled Saigon in April 1975, the night before Saigon fell to North Vietnamese communist forces. And they were brave enough to take their family with the help of the US government to resettle in the United States, searching for democracy, searching for a life that they could have for their children which would be better, where my father would not be at risk of government persecution. And even though Vietnam has changed a lot over the past 40+ years to a great country now, this is something that they dare to go seek. And so they brought me and my kids, the rest of the kids in the family, about 4 of us in total, to the United States, where we settled to a life in Los Angeles, in the LA area. And I grew up and went to law school and became a lawyer just like my father was. In fact, I used to have these 2 pictures in my law firm office in Los Angeles on the wall, and people would come in and say, "Jimmy, why do you have 2 pictures of yourself up graduating from law school?" And I would say, "No, that's actually my father's graduation from law school in Saigon in 1974, and mine many years later in 1995. So it's a connection that really tied us together, and I was an IP and digital technology lawyer for 21 years, starting at the birth of the internet in the 1990s during the dot-com wave. And it's what led me to go into the blockchain world starting around 2015 and 16, as it was really growing, but still not as mainstream as it is now. And the reason I was interested in it is I saw blockchain as the next major data network of our lifetime that could change the world like the internet did. And I was used to working with companies to navigate that blockchain growth. And little did I know that full circle, my life would come many years later when I actually got asked to go speak in Vietnam by the government of the Vietnamese National Internet Center, which is an agency of the Ministry of Communications and IT. So I went there in July of this year and was asked back by the government that my family left over 4 decades ago, to use the knowledge I had gained from my life in the United States and my career around the world in blockchain to help educate them about the growth of their internet and the combined power with IPv6 and blockchain, particularly BSV. And on top of that, the event was held in Da Nang, which is the 3rd biggest city in Vietnam, and happens to be where my father was last stationed as a judge before they left Vietnam. And so when I got to tell my father that I was going back to Vietnam to speak at the request of the government, that their family left, to help grow not just economy, but hopefully more democratic goals in the country, all he could say to me was, "Sound very important what you do," because my father does speak like that. But it's a lesson I want to carry to all of you as we talk about technology and how we can create a more connected world. I wish that blockchain and metaverse existed when my family left Vietnam in the 1970s, because they ended up in a country where they didn't know the language. They didn't have jobs. Their money was no good anymore. Their land that they owned in Vietnam, gone. No connection to their relatives who got dispersed all across the United States. No connection to their culture, even their food. And this is where I think blockchain technology, and in particular metaverse, can really help empower people, especially people who are displaced, people in developing countries, to be more connected with the rest of the world. It's why I have spent years working with the BSV blockchain ecosystem, going around the world to places like Pakistan, where I've been 3 times this year, in Nigeria, where I just was 2 weeks ago for their Digital Nigeria conference, because it is in these developing countries that the power of blockchain to connect them, not just within their country, but with the rest of the world, is so powerful. And it's big. This was the scene at the Digital Nigeria conference. Thousands of people brought into an arena, especially young people, wanting to understand how blockchain can transform their country for the better. It's exactly why I left the BSV Blockchain Association a couple of months ago to launch Blockchain for All, where I'm really driving solutions to make blockchain useful for all countries, types of businesses, consumers, and people all around the world. It's why I believe in blockchain scaling. No matter what blockchain you support, and I've supported BSV for years, it's because scale is necessary to connect the world, either with cheap financial transactions, decentralized or less intermediated systems, or just data. The BTC blockchain, only holds a small amount of data, nowhere near enough to challenge Visa's payment card systems. And with BSV, we took the Bitcoin protocol and scaled it unbounded, so it's able to do 50 to 100,000 transactions a second now and growing even bigger. That is what is necessary to connect the world, especially with low costs. To create the applications we're talking about, to advance democracy, to create voting potentially in Liberland through a DAO system, you need to do it for very, very low fees instead of 80 cents per BTC transaction or $20 per Ethereum transaction occasionally, or $80 to mint an NFT on Ethereum. You need blockchains that can do transactions for 1/100th or less of a cent, because then you can power a lot more connection. And this is what blockchain, especially with BSV, is doing with the advance of IPv6, the latest iteration of Internet Protocol, which is creating a lot more unique IP addresses, because IPv4 ran out of unique IP addresses a long time ago. And as countries adopt IPv6, we're going to be able to create so many unique IP addresses, over 18 quintillion, enough for every person, pet, plant, rock, grain of sand, anything in the world to have its own unique IP address in a connected world of smart everything, where not just your smartphone, but your belt, your handbag, your shoes, your house, your car, everything probably will be connected to a blockchain to exchange not just data, but micropayments, tokens to validate who you are when you go through the airport security or check into a hotel and get into your door. This is how blockchain at scale can create a data network and a micropayment system to create a far more connected world. It's also why I'm really focused on things in the metaverse. In the metaverse, we can connect IoT and smart everything, not just devices, but combining the physical and digital worlds. And that's one of the main messages I want to give to you today about metaverse. People talk about it as it's this whole virtual thing. A true metaverse will combine what happens with me physically on stage with a parallel twinned digital XR virtual reality world so that they interact with each other. For that to happen, you need a blockchain at massive scale to be able to handle the type of data as well as micropayment transactions. So there's lots of things you can do. So for example, this is a project from a company I'll be joining the board of, Matesol, with my friends Mohammed Salman Anjum, who's here from Dubai. They're creating 2D metaverse government service centers. So in countries, you don't have to physically go to a visa office to apply for your travel visa. You don't have to go to the driver's license office. You could do it in an engaged metaverse with government service workers as avatars. It's a very focused use of metaverse that's not just good for efficiency, but powerful for empowering people. Especially in developing countries, many people don't have access to get to government offices. While we could do this on Zoom video, creating these metaverse government service centers in developing countries can really empower the normal citizen to have better access to their government services, their representatives. And you can imagine how this could be very useful in many different environments. The same company is working with a travel provider in Pakistan called Funadik to actually create these service centers to expedite the process for check-in at the annual Muslim pilgrimage to Makkah, Hajj, where you have millions of people from across the Islam religion coming in one place and all having to check in at the same time. That is, as you can imagine, a logistic nightmare in the making. But by using a 2D metaverse concept to do that, you allow more people to more efficiently enjoy a powerful religious experience and make things far more efficient. They're also working to create lots of opportunities, and this is gonna, with arts and culture, using blockchain, working with the University of Sharjah, which is led in its tech transfer office by a great ally of ours, Dr. Mohammed El-Hamari, to create a metaverse where you can preserve Emirati arts and culture as NFTs. Why is that important to democratic goals? Because as countries advance, especially the developing countries, there's a big fear of losing their culture. I know my parents felt it by coming to the United States, and with many people who have diasporas around the world, there is a powerful need to remember who you are, to remember where you came from, because it allows you to better live in today's society. And Mohammed's son, Ibrahim, is a great young entrepreneur who's also here, who's creating Deciverse, a Desi cultural hub for South Asian culture on blockchain, again, to preserve culture as a powerful way to connect people, whether they're in India or Pakistan or afar, like my parents would love to connect with people back in Vietnam as well as around the world. And so it's not just these types of things that I think are important. In addition, we have a project I'm pleased to announce that is the first of my company. It's one of the big ones that I'm really pleased to work with. And if I could click this, hello. Okay, it's all right, guys. Hello. It's all right. Can you just advance the slide for me because this is not working? Thank you. So I'm pleased to announce I did recently a major project with two of my friends from London. It's tentatively called MetaArena. We're going to come up with a different name for it. But what we're doing is building actually metaverse complexes. I'm tired of just talking about blockchain at these events. I'm trying to lead business projects that actually realize it physically in real life that people can experience. So we're building an entire complex of metaverse-related arenas and services. Now, there's a lot of effort that's going on to create music and concerts, such as this Justin Bieber virtual concert that happened last year in a metaverse-type environment. We're also seeing the rise of moving to esports, to have esports tournaments happen in physical environments that get paralleled and twinned in metaverse environments. And then we also are seeing a move by a lot of my friends in the entertainment industry to create theater and arts experiences, a show that happens on stage physically, but that interacts with an immersive environment. So I'm joining my friends Ketan Makwana and Michael Jacobson, who is a very renowned live entertainment leisure entrepreneur. He's also the producer of the global Dirty Dancing musical on stage that toured the world and generated over $1 billion in revenue. And they've invited me into a project that's going to be anchored by physical arenas or stages, where you will actually have a stage performance area fitted with technology that is designed to integrate with metaverse and blockchain environments. We're building 5 sites across 5 major global regions. The first in London, expected to break ground in spring of next year, aimed to open in 2024. A second in the UAE, which we've already begun discussions of. Then in Singapore, Sydney, Australia, and Miami. They will be anchored by, as I mentioned, these vertical performance areas, kind of with seating, almost like the Imperial Senate if you're a Star Wars fan, with things such as immersive pods where you sit, with haptic floors where you can feel and experience sound and music, connections to VR headsets, and the ability to host live events, avatar events, streamed events, AR festivals. But more than just a performance space, even though it'll be anchored by that, we want to create an opportunity to train a next generation of creative professionals to work in the metaverse. There will be production studios where companies or governments can get production services to produce these experiences in the metaverse, as well as what are called volumetric camera studios, where you have cameras all around to create more 3D imagery or live streams of a person or to film people. We want to see environments like this grow up in areas so that they could be even servicing Hollywood. One day, maybe parts of an episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus are created and filmed in these remote locations and either live streamed back with a metaverse experience or just added to filmed entertainment. And how is this relating to blockchain? Well, we're already pleased to be partnering with Transmira, which is an AR and VR company based in the United States that uses the BSV blockchain because they needed big scale. And it's partnered with Transmira to provide augmented and reality digital twinning. Because when you are creating metaverse environments, you have to create replicas of places. So this is what Transmira did to create a digital twin of Los Angeles as a city. It's very detailed, buildings so that you can have metaverse experiences in a hospital, in a sports stadium, at a university. And it's doing it to such detail to create environments where we interact, learn, get entertained, exchange payments, exchange tokens and things that are interesting to us like data. This is the future which I'm really, really happy to start bringing together in the world of metaverse. So this is just sort of the beginning for us. It is designed to fulfill this vision that I want to advance. And this is just the first of the major business initiatives that I'll be working on. I have a number more in the pipeline, but they all have some common themes. Empowering people, no matter who you are, and creating a world that's more connected so that no matter where you came from, where you are today, your socioeconomic status, your religion, your immigrant and refugee status, you can be part of a more vibrant, financially enabled world for yourself, where you can participate in the citizenry of your country, or even get access to government services. So I know it's a really big vision, but it's one that I think my father would be very proud of. He talked to me about it a lot as I was trying to explain blockchain to him, which is not easy when you're talking to a 87-year-old Vietnamese, immigrant. But I think he kind of understands it. He sort of understands the magic internet money part of Bitcoin. But I got to see him before I left for Vietnam on this trip in July. And the one message he said to me, other than what you're doing sounds very important, he said, "It's good you're helping Vietnam," which is a very powerful thing to say for someone who felt they had to leave to start a new life. But I think he's proud of the fact that his youngest son got to take the knowledge that I learned in a more democratic country with a lot of educational opportunities, and my experiences around the world to help the country that he still loves near and dear to his heart, and one that I think he'd like to be more connected to. So I know it's a really big vision, but I think my dad would be very proud of it, and I think I would encourage you all, as you go about over the next day or two, to actually think about how you can contribute to this vision of a more connected world. And I think Kirze is going to help me advance to the next slide, because I think we all want this, right? We all want to be more connected to each other. We all want to be more connected to the businesses and environments in which we are engaging in. And I would love to talk to you about all of them. And Kirze, can you just have them advance to the next thing? If not, that's okay. All right. And so it is a powerful world. So it's the vision that I hope you all leave with, a world that is connected with internet payments, micropayments, data that's truly peer-to-peer. Bitcoin and blockchain were introduced as a distributed network to reinvent internet payments with this ledger of transactions, organized into blocks, connected across time. But those blocks contain more than just payments. They also contain the one most valuable commodity of our digital era, data, your identity, who we are. And therein lies the true power of blockchain and the future metaverse. A protocol to power applications for government, enterprise, consumers, one universal source of truth that breaks down data silos and opens data transparency. One timestamp ledger that traces products, assets, our rights, and the very sustainability of our planet. One network that makes our cities, communities, countries, Catalan, España, smarter, stronger, more autonomous. One blockchain that can connect everything, everyone, and everywhere. Whether you're from Australia, South Africa, United Kingdom, USA, my friends from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, or where I started, Vietnam. Let's all use blockchain to create a world connected.